Welcome all you creators and social impact warriors out there. It's been a year since we last came together to imagine a better world. Today, I have the honor to introduce someone so next level, I'm practically jumping out of my seat. Miss Rosario Dawson. She's an actor, designer, activist, and creator. I use the word creator because Unity's tagline is, the world is a better place with more creators in it. And I wanted to call attention to our viewers, and also you, Rosario. You are them, they are you. I don't want them to see you just as an amazing actress or a superstar or social good warrior, but also as a fellow creator. I've given a ton of thought how I could introduce you in a way that does justice to the type of amazing human being I know you to be. I could talk about all the movies you've been in or the countless nonprofits you've championed.
That would be weird.
That would be weird, but they can look that up. I want them to think of you as the sci-fi junkie I know you to be, the fangirl I know you to be, the super geek I know you to be, the techie I know you to be, but also the amazing mom, daughter, and Thea to so many you are. That you value your friends and family and community because you believe in the power of tribe, of community. And in these recent times where it feels like more and more people are going inward, you have this next level superpower to be even more open, vulnerable, and welcoming. And as we talk about community, it's something I'd love to go deeper on and hear your thoughts about. The power of community and technology, and something you've schooled me on, coming back around the fire.
Yeah. So actually speaking about that, to share with all of you, I've had this philosophy for a while of like how remarkable this moment is. I say like I get to straddle the centuries, and being a part of this world where we were imagining that Star Trek future of like, no money and exploration and like, technology, go gadget belt and like watch. And now, we've got these tablets and we've got this technology, but not necessarily the philosophy that's behind it, and sort of the real vision of like what we could be behind it. And that's up to all of you, the creators out there, to design that future. And I think that's what's been so remarkable is seeing how art can help us visualize that, to like conceptualize it, to like imagine it, to start to kind of see it in real time with actual human beings interacting with that future, and then start to really create it and really make it so it's tangible and something that we can really experience. And now we really do live in that fourth dimension. We used to be all around the fire, the medicine woman, the warrior, the mother, the father, the child, the person who worked with the animals and the food and just everyone had an equal space around that fire, where they came together as community. And, as industry built up, we started going into that pyramid shape where it was just the few people at the top, the big boss at the top, and all the workers at the bottom. And what's remarkable now with this technology is we get to open up that portal and get that light in our face and be back around the fire again through our watches and our tablets and our phones. And what I see every time as we start to democratize that space, the creativity that comes from it, like that vision of the world that I got to imagine through Star Trek and Live Long and Prosper and all of that, it's now actually starting to be created, and it's done through videos and, just people just being clever and funny and, it not having to be all the big production value. It's just hugging each other. It's just sharing a slice of life and making the mundane, the boring, the ordinary, the excellence of adventure and collaboration and connection and exploration. And I know that we're getting there because this generation is coming in hot, and they are looking at the problems that we perpetuated up into this moment, and they are factoring that in. They're being so conscious and intentional with what they are making and creating. And that just gives me a lot of hope.
Yes, yes, yes. As we talk about being back around the fire and technology and community connecting us, community can also have a really powerful effect on environment.
Yes.
And there's two organizations you've done some amazing work with, Studio 189 and Lower East Side Girls Club.
Yep.
Can you talk about both of them from an environmental perspective, sustainability perspective?
So Studio 189, as a company, I started with this one of our batik shirts and belt, obi belts, that I started with my friend Abrima. She had been reading up on Muhammad Yunus's work, who's a father of microloans, who really speaks to the idea that through business, through companies, it doesn't always have to be nonprofit, through profit companies, we can start building in intention and consciousness. And we can start recognizing people all out throughout the supply chain. And oftentimes with fashion, it is the second largest polluter in the world. We are consuming 60% more items than we ever did before. Fast fashion is literally killing us. And, people are starting to recognize they can vote with their dollar and that we can do things in a different way, like a company like Ambercycle that's working in collaboration with scientists to go, if we're getting rid of billions of items of clothing every year, why are we just putting them in landfills and blocking waterways and doing all these different things? Why don't we take and extract all the oil that was put into them? And they figured out this way. You cut off the zippers, the buttons, you slice it up into little pieces. Within 20 minutes, it goes into this machine that they've created, and they can separate all the parts, and they make it back to little pellets that go exactly in the same infrastructure of the machines that are already used, that are used for polyester. And you can just make absolutely you would never know that this was recycled. Like, it's absolutely brand new. It's not recycled in the way we've thought about before. And you're like, how has that never been created before? Well, the designers weren't there for it. The data wasn't there before, the intention, the desire. And so now we're having collaborations across industries and companies and scientists and fashion people, all this kind of stuff that are going, I want to be a part of this industry, but I don't want to be a part of hurting it. And so that's what we've been doing with Studio 1A. We do everything from upcycling, working with, collaborating with companies like that, and saying, if you're not paying for the price, because a t-shirt doesn't cost $1, right? But so if you're not paying for it, someone else is. And that someone else that we've recognized over the past couple of years is not so far away and so other as we'd like to think. Right. That we are very interdependent. And what's happening on the other side of the world affects us drastically. And we need to start designing and creating and building with that in mind. And so it's been really wonderful to be able to do that and recognize people all throughout the supply chain and introduce that to folks and let them recognize they don't have to sacrifice style or fashion or anything. And you don't have to hurt anyone to look good and feel good. And that's just been really, really beautiful. And then with the Lower East Side Girls Club, so I grew up in the Lower East Side. I'm from Coney Island, Brooklyn. But I was raised in the Lower East Side. And years ago, when the Boys Club of America became co-ed, the boys clubs in that area vehemently declined to do so. And so a group of mothers came together and started doing programming for girls all throughout the neighborhood and churches and backs of stores and in classrooms. And a few years ago, we were able to create our first building. We're actually working on our second one, which is amazing. But our first building, what's called, is over 30,000 square feet of awesomeness on Avenue D, full free programming. I mean, it's got a planetarium, an Airstream that was brought onto the second floor and turned into a recording studio. They call it the WGRL.
Okay.
When I say girls club, they're they think rec room, because that's what they're thinking of boys club. I'm like, no, this is all campus. This is something really special. And for the girls, a lot of them are being served from the community who are growing up in the projects there. This is sometimes the only space that looks like that. That's for them. And that's what we want to invigorate in these girls, is for them to know that spaces like that belong to them and that we expect them to go to those spaces, to grow and learn in those spaces and thrive and create them for others. Yes. And it's just been really beautiful and remarkable over all of these years to see that circularity built into that organization as girls who graduate through the program come back and mentor again. And it's just been one of the highlights of my life to join that board.
Yes.
And to continue bringing people and introducing it. And again, as I said, now we're starting our second building, and it's been really special.
Congratulations.
Actually, I want to say too, Studio 189 did our first fashion shows there.
Because
I like to we got to cross-pollinate, cross-collaborate.
All about community. All right. So let's talk about the 2023 Unity for Humanity Grant Challenge.
Yes.
2022, your friend, colleague, fellow social good warrior Common was in the mix.
Yeah.
This year, you're going to be one of the judges. You're passionate about a lot of things. We've been talking about the environment, sustainability. I also know you're passionate about youth mental wellness. Do you want there to be any kind of particular kind of submissions in the grants, or do you just want those creators out there to just do their thing?
What I'm looking for, a little cheat sheet, everyone, is I'm definitely looking at things that are going to be incorporating the environment, and being conscious and intentional. But I think I feel like this generation's coming in hot. like the data is there and they're actually responding to it and like building on it, and which I think is really special. You know, the world we want is possible. You know, if we create it and we design it, and I think, and we innovate it, and that's what it really requires, is the innovation. The desire is there, and I'm just really like blown away to, you know, by the thought processes that people have, and like the perspectives that they have. I mean, they're really shifting the narrative about what can be done and how it can be done. You know, I think a lot of young people are appreciating that they can be influencers, right? And it's not just something that's like trends online. I think, you know, we grew up in a society where it was an adult world. Yep. And we were going to grow up one day to be those adults. They're not waiting. These, you know, they have 24/7 content for them as kids. We had Saturday morning cartoons. Mm-hmm. So there's this level, and it's interesting because I hear some people talk about, oh, they're so entitled and stuff. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's incredible that they're like, I want to take the reins on right now. I think that the danger is that maybe they take on too much. And I definitely want to make sure that, you know, there's an intergenerational conversation. So I do appreciate being able to be a judge on this and being able to have that interaction, because I do think that the wisdom of and knowledge of how the world is and has worked for a really long time really needs to meet the energy and the vibrancy of young people who are going, I want to shift gears. You know, you have to kind of know what the playing field is to a certain degree. And that's what I'm excited about, is that collaboration and like really seeing what people are going to come up with. Because, you know, when you look at the VR space, there's a small percentage of them are women. And the big thing that they're doing is complaining about how it mirrors some of the worst things about our society right now. And it's like, we gotta do better. We can do better. Yeah. And I know we're going to see some really remarkable submissions that are going to address that and so many other things.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
Bring it. You know, I know how busy you are, and I don't take it lightly that once again, you make the time for advancing light and love in the world.
As do you.
And being a Jedi Grandmaster of social good.
You had to do that.
I had to. And for all the super nerds out there wanting to correct me,
I know
Ashoka is not a Jedi.
No, Ahsoka's no Jedi.
I'm talking about Rosario in your civilian capacity. As a person and champion of social good, you are indeed a Jedi Grandmaster.
Yeah, well, I'm trying, working at it.
But for you as a fan of Star Wars, me as a fan of Star Wars, a lot of folks watching, fans of Star Wars. Can you talk a little bit about how you see the world from a light side and dark side, and aspiring to be kind of the best human being you can be? Yeah,
I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I've always loved jumping genres, and I was really into comics and stuff. My uncle's a comic book artist, and I got it. Like when I was a kid, he would not let me read the comics myself. Like I would sit back to back so I wouldn't breathe on them. He would turn the pages and he'd like be like, "You good?" And then I'd like read it to myself. I mean, so they were like sacred text to me. And it was just always remarkable because with just that visual art and those words, you were able to just do anything. Like anything that you could imagine on a blank piece of paper could be explored. You know, there was nothing holding you back except your imagination. And I love, like, when you think about, there was a time Star Wars didn't exist, you know, and then all of a sudden comes this idea of like this battle between the light and the dark in all of us. Yeah. And it's not one like back in the day where it was like good guys, bad guys. And, you know, it's like, and that's it. And you were just this one-dimensional person. It was this thing of like, you can choose towards the light and you could pivot and go towards the dark. And even someone who's like, could turn into one of the worst of us could find that light through the love of a son. You know, and I think that's the reason why it's perpetuated for generations. And because there's something really powerful about acknowledging that challenge. And we've recognized in these past couple of years that things can get worse. You know, and what do you do with that? Yeah. And when we're trying to like get back to normal, well, normal wasn't normal. And if we're going to create a new normal, which we can create, like there's no telling us that we can't do that. Like that this is just the way that things are and nothing ever changes. We just saw my whole industry completely shut down. You know, so we all know deeply from the class of 2019 to 2020, like there was a big shift in consciousness. And I think that that's what I love exploring through a story, you know, through the world of Star Wars, and appreciating and understanding that like you have to make that choice of who you choose to be, what you're following your morals, following your values, and you're going to be challenged.
Yes.
And it takes discipline and commitment and passion to see it through. Not being perfect, not having no flaws. That's not a reality. That is not put into the sci-fi fantasy, is being perfect. That's not what it is.
Right.
It's actually the courage to face your choices and to grow and evolve as a person and really follow your heart. And I think that's magical to be a part of, that kind of storytelling. And I'm so grateful that it exists and that it continues to perpetuate and just move generations.
Mind blown. Mind blown. Amazing. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So just a couple quick things before we wrap. First, from the audience, a couple quick questions,
Yeah.
kind of rapid fire.
Okay.
Favorite type of music right now, genre?
I love, I guess I'm gonna just say it, I like hot girl summer kind of music. So Princess Nokia put out a song called No Effort that she said actually happened when she was on her way to the studio and she got hit by a car or something while she was on her bike. And she was just like,
Okay.
all right, no effort. I still got this. And I was, as many times as being a New Yorker and getting hit by cars and bikes, and you just kind of like, Aaliyah styles, dust yourself off and try again. Like, I really love that. So yeah, I love dance music in general. I love New York, and it's such a New York kind of like homage throwback song. I
know you take your mental health seriously. Type of music you listen to when you want to meditate or do yoga?
Yeah, I mean, I oftentimes I don't listen to very like a lot of kind of like spoken word sort of meditation stuff. There's like these interesting stuff like 432 hertz. I think it is that you can find that is sort of like a frequency that's good for the body that I discovered that was really meditative for my dad when he was going through his chemo for his pancreatic cancer. So I love stuff like that. I know people find ASMR, like they find their different things, but whatever it is that's soothing and calming. I listen to rain sounds usually, or like nature sounds when I'm meditating. But like meditation in general though is just really remarkable, even if people give themselves 5 minutes. If you think about it, it's like we spend so much of our time worrying about the future and, belaboring the past, and we are robbing ourselves of the present, which truly is a gift.
Yes.
If we are not here in the now, we are not going to be nearly as happy as we could be. And so, I just, whatever it is that gets people into that space, I highly recommend. But I would also say, I mean, for obvious dance music, you got to throw in Afro beats. Because, I gotta give a shout out.
Hey.
Yeah. I gotta give a little shout out. It's made in Ghana, and Spanish music. I'm eclectic. I even listen to some country, a little bit of opera, classic, all the things. Some people say everything, and I'm like, no, really. My playlist is wild. I just love dancing in general, so I love music.
Love it. And one more question: couple of your favorite movies of all time.
Of all time, I mean, everybody knows the Rocky Horror Picture Show is my favorite movie of all time. But I actually just watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you haven't seen it yet, I actually literally want to get a tattoo of like a rock with googly eyes. Like, it's a whole metaverse film. Michelle Yeoh is just absolutely incredible. She's one of my favorite people. Like, talk about being a badass for decades. And it's really unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. It's a really, really, really special film. And I especially love the idea of the metaverse, So, when you think about like things like Ready Player One, like really getting us in, I like that book was amazing. And it kind of just like introduces, even for people who are not necessarily gamers, but just this idea of like just the kind of level of creativity and the opportunity, like you think about people with disabilities or like people who can't travel, and I'm trying to get a visa for my son Momodou in Sierra Leone, and it's like it's so hard. But he's like, yo, but can you get me FIFA though? And then we can all play, and then we can talk to each other. Like I really love the connectivity and the opportunity within that. So I love that film and that book has kind of spread that word to other people. If maybe they're not so aware of the technology that exists right now, it's like kind of get up on that. It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Powerful. If you could maybe straight to camera inspire the audience, because a lot of people tuning in are wanting to aspire to not just be a social good warrior, but to be a Jedi Grand Master of social good like you. Any words of wisdom? Because we also know it's rough out there. It's challenging.
Yeah.
And then after that, since we do need to wrap, if you could hook us up.
A little something.
Maybe.
I think about the self-talk that we have, Like we can get really negative with ourselves. And, these are fearful times, and it can be really bleak when you look at certain things. There's this Paul Hawkins commencement speech I highly recommend anyone to read. He did it for the class of 2009. And he talks about, if you're not pessimistic, then you're not appreciating the data that's out there. But if you're not optimistic, you don't have a pulse, because we really are living in an era and a time right now where it's innumerable. And it's been for that way for years, of people just showing up to love on each other for the sake of it. We've just never seen a movement like that throughout history. And it started with the abolitionist movement, when weirdly, wildly, people said people shouldn't be enslaved, and started working on behalf of folks that they would never know and who they would never get any direct benefit from, just because it was the right thing to do. And that has brought us to this moment here, where just countless organizations and companies and teachers and babysitters and like random people on the street who just want to give flowers to folks and like hug people at, protests, like there's just a movement of positivity and love unlike the world has ever seen before, literally. And I think that's just something really powerful, So it's not always just about what you can give to other people. I would first start with what you can give to yourself. Like when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, like something positive that you can give to yourself. Because again, that negative talk will be at you in every billboard to tell you you're not enough because you haven't bought this thing or done this thing, And you can berate yourself for so many stuff. But if you're so quick to do that, see if you can start building that muscle of just going like, you got this. Like, not, you know what, that could have done better, but like, you showed up, you woke up. And I think that we need to find our gratitude more. And not in the sense of like, just be appreciative and don't complain about anything, but just know that we have so much to be grateful for. I think these past couple years have really made us recognize that the simple things that sometimes we take for granted are actually some of the things that we miss the most. And just give yourself some props for showing up when you do, and give yourself that love, because then you smile and it's coming from within, and you bring that light to someone else's eyes, and it's one of the most beautiful things. So whether you're like Sadhguru taking 100-mile trek across India and Europe to talk about saving soil, or you're just someone who waves at him along the way, just know that you're part of a movement of generosity and love unlike the world has ever seen before. And as you take on that fight for the good of the world, may the force be with you.